Good morning, friends. Welcome to that 1870s homestead. I'm excited to report we are potting up our baby cabbages and broccoli today, and not as good of germination as I had the last time. That's okay. That's my tip for the day. Start more seeds than you think you need. That way, at least you make sure you get what you need, and if you have extra, you can always give them away or thin them out. In this case, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 good cabbages, which is more than I needed. I needed 12, but I only have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 broccoli, and I wanted 12. So that's a bummer. And I have box elders. It is that time of year where bugs get in the house. And the box elders are coming in and they're nibbling at them. And so I have quite a few seed starting videos. If you're new here, welcome. And this is my third season starting my own seeds in my little setup I have back here in the house. And I was watching, I think I've mentioned this in quite a few videos. Oh, good. I went back and watched my own videos quite often to remember what did I do when I knew something worked well. So it's more of like an online gardening journal for me too. And so I went back and watched the video on separating my cabbages at that time, and I waited too long to pot them up, and the roots were really long coming out of these little seed containers, so I didn't want to make that same mistake this year. And you'll see the roots, hopefully those are showing up. They're just to the bottom and just starting to go in a little circle. And then I wanted to do this, today's Monday, I wanted to do it over the weekend, but the soil was just a little bit too moist still. And you kind of want to let them dry out just a little bit so that when you are potting them up, I wanted to put some fertilizer in here. What was I going to say? Oh, when you're potting them up, you're not disturbing that damp soil will just fall apart on you. So I'm just doing a little light sprinkle of some all-purpose fertilizer in there just for their first feeding, because they've only been growing in seed starting mix up until now. And we'll pot these up. They'll actually go out in the garden at late March, early April, depending on the weather forecast. And I'm gonna give them a good watering in once they're all planted up. There's our first one. And I'm reusing old Solo cups that I used in the past. That's why they're kind of dirty. But I couldn't find they're probably out there in the garden shed somewhere in a box. But it is winter storage time. And I couldn't find my, 3.5 inch, 4 inch square pots that I normally use. So we have plenty of Solo cups to go around. How is your seed starting going? Some of these got away from me. They got a little leggy, and that's probably my fault again, because I don't know that I was so super careful making sure that the lights were at like the right height above. So if you're just starting seeds and maybe you're only doing like summer crops this year, like tomatoes and peppers and things like that, and if you're in my growing zone, it's not quite time to start those yet. Of course, in the past I have, and I found out it's way too early. But we'll be starting them soon in the next couple weeks. And what was I gonna say? They were leggy. Oh, another tip. So you want when you're first starting your seeds, all seeds need light to germinate. have that light like just above the surface of the soil. And as they break the soil, you can raise your lights up. And that's one of the tips to prevent your plants from getting too leggy on you. So another one, we're just going to do all of our reds. And I grow more green cabbages than reds. I like my red cabbages for like slaws and stuff like that. But I like my green cabbages for like baking, stir frying. Red cabbages are good for stir frying too. But I'll freeze my green cabbages like in big cabbage steaks. And it's worked so well for us. Now I like cabbage a lot more than my husband does. But if you just freeze them in like little 2-inch thick, about 1.5 inches, maybe 2-inch thick cabbage steaks, they fry up so well. You can season them, throw them in your oven, or you can take them out and julienne them and then just like fry them like in a stir fry or something like that. And I just love it. So that's specifically why I'm growing more cabbage steaks. I think that just the flavor is a little bit more versatile in dishes. But I love the beauty of red cabbages in the garden. They are so beautiful. If you've never grown cabbage and you're trying it for the first time this year, what to prepare for? Cabbage moths. You have to protect these babies as soon as you put them out from all the bugs who love to eat cabbages. Whether it's butterflies, moths, they all like to lay their little eggs underneath, oops, and I forgot my fertilizer again, underneath the leaves, and then those babies as they hatch will eat and eat and eat and munch. And then another thing is slugs. So cabbages are one of those things that their leaves get really, really big, and the bottom leaves will lay on the soil and start decomposing. And slugs love that condition. They'll keep the soil moist. It's just a haven for slugs. So a couple things you can do to prevent that is keep those bottom leaves trimmed up. If you trim them while they're still tender and they haven't died off yet, you can eat those. We can all of our cabbage and broccoli greens, like as a southern style green. And then that should keep the slugs at bay. But I also use, write this down if you have a slug problem, it's called Sluggo, and it's an organic thing, like sprinkle thing that you can put in your garden, and it helps. It helps with slugs and roly-polies, or some of you guys call them pill bugs. It helps with those things as well. And now pill bugs are beneficial insects, so I'm not recommending you try to get rid of all of them, because they remove heavy metals from soil, which is necessary. But they can get out of control if you have a lot of organic matter like we do as organic gardeners in our garden, with all the wood chips and cardboard and leaves and all that. They're doing their job. They're decomposing things. Some of the things they get a little excited about helping the decomposition process if they're close to the ground, and they love to get into strawberry beds and destroy strawberries. So another thing that you could add to your things to buy this year, Sluggo is a great one, and a little goes a long way. Usually one container lasts me for the whole season, if not more. But about those squash bugs and pill moths, so how do I protect them? You want some type of covering for them that you'll be certain is secure and there's no gap, because those cabbage moths find every single gap you might have left open to get in there, because they're looking for that prime location to lay their babies. So we just use a couple, we bought a couple like portable little mini greenhouse like insect barrier tent cover things. And people always ask because they do look nice where we got them. I will never recommend them to anyone because the covers only lasted 1 year and they were destroyed. The zippers all broke. Ended up being a very poor product outside the frame. If they just sold the frame, I would recommend it, but for the price, it's not worth it. But we use just like a frame, and you could build this out of rebar and PVC. I've seen people build it all kinds of ways, some kind of frame to hold some netting, and then weight that netting down and overlap it so things can't get in there. Probably my biggest recommendation for growing cabbages and brassicas. This year I think I'm going to try something new because honestly I never 100% win the battle with the slugs. Usually once you peel a couple outer layers away, you're having to peel more away because there's more like slug damages where they got into the leaves, and that's just the nature of growing organic vegetables. You're never going to have the perfect pest-free product. And I saw a cute saying when I was first getting okay with that, you know, that if the bugs like to eat it, you know it's good enough for you. And where bugs probably aren't growing on those conventional crops that are sprayed with pesticides and herbicides because it would kill them. So kind of good wisdom there in that little saying. And one other thing, don't pull your babies out. I'm just like gently holding them so that they don't fall as they tip. Okay, and then we'll lay them down and separate them. That was another thing when I watched the last year's video. I was really having to pull these things apart, and they're coming nice and easy out. But great root development, really good. I just thought I'd share with you guys while I'm doing this a lot of the, you know, things I think about this time of the year. Like, is my netting still good for my brassicas? I need to just go out and check that. I think it is. I might just want to give it like a light power wash because it kind of gets stingy after a while. I did it again. And and then other things I'm thinking about, like I'm constantly looking at my garden plan this time of year, just making sure the days go by so fast, you know, and you're busy. And am I on track with everything I need to be on track with? And, you know, other things that I need to be planting out this time of year. Let's see, if you were growing, and I don't try to grow standard spinach anymore, but if you were growing spinach is something you would want to plant out early in the spring, and get that growing before the, you know, hot days show up, so you have a chance at harvesting some before it bolts on you. And then what was another one? Oh, my peas I'll need to plant out soon. My potatoes, probably both of those will happen like next week probably for me. And when I say next week, where are we? Like St. Patrick's Day is next week, so it'll be the weekend after St. Patty's Day, which I'll plan to do those. And then our brassicas and cabbages will follow that. And then right around the corner will be our onions and carrots and lettuces. Kales could go out early. So pretty much anything that you consider to be winter hardy would be pretty safe within that 4-week last frost date window. So if you're 4 weeks ahead of your last frost date, these are some things, 4 to 6 weeks, these are some things that you could consider planting out kind of what feels like maybe ahead of the standard summer gardening schedule. So those are things I'm thinking about. Like I checked my delivery window for my onion starts, which will come from Dixondale Farms. They're a farm down in Texas that I always buy my onions from. I get lots of questions or comments like, you should just grow your onions from seed. And I think I would if I had the space to do that, but I use all of my growing space for my cabbages, peppers, tomatoes, things like that. I don't know, one time, maybe next year I'll just try it and see if it doesn't work out with the planting out window versus the time I need to start a big batch of peppers and onions. I may have the space and just think I don't. I don't know if you guys have any other tips for this early spring planting season. Let me know. Oh, I know another couple things I'm thinking about is getting out there and amending this week the garden spaces where my peas and potatoes will be planted next week. So, a couple weeks anyway before you plant, you should go ahead and amend your beds. Get some fresh compost in there, whatever special amendments your specific plant might need. Let that water into the garden and just prepare that soil condition and get it nice and ready for them. And this weekend, so I mentioned eating the cabbage greens and the broccoli greens, and I just keep the leaves trimmed back during the growing season, so they're putting more focus, I guess, on growing that desired resulting crop, whether it's the broccoli florets or the cabbage head. And I don't cut them all back, but I definitely cut them back so that in a high intensity growing method, there's plenty of air circulation around the plant, and also just not having to exert so much energy on things that aren't necessary. So we harvest the extra cabbage leaves and the extra cabbage leaves and broccoli leaves. And like I said, we can those up as kind of southern style greens. Also freeze dry quite a lot of it. And the freeze dried greens we use a lot in quiches and soups. So we just did some quiche over the weekend. It was actually like a frittata that had broccoli in it, and I put some of our broccoli greens in it. And it's just a great way to get in extra nutrients in normal dishes that would call for something like broccoli. But, my little broccoli florets that I do get are pretty precious, and I don't want to necessarily have to use broccoli in everything that I'm making. So throwing in broccoli greens, you get the flavor and you get the great nutrients. But I need several more cups. So I need to go get me some more cups, and I'll be right back to wrap up our broccolis. Rue, stop. So I thought you guys would appreciate seeing this behind the scenes. I have a wine cork opener and my solo cups, and I can't find my husband's drill to save my life. So we are using a wine cork opener to punch our holes in the bottom of our cups. You gotta do what you gotta do. And that's how they turned out. 4 little holes in the bottom so that when I bottom water, they'll take up the water from the bottom. While I'll water them in from the top today, they won't get watered in from the top again while they're growing in these little cups. They will just get watered from the bottom. Oh man, that was a shoulder workout, twisting all of those holes in these cups. But I think we're good. We have what we need. I'm going to finish planting up these broccolis and I thought while I was out in the garden shed, I saw my fish emulsion, and I didn't mention that. Well, I've done a video on it before. Now I'm giving these guys this little bit of fertilizer here today because this is just potting, like generic seed starting soil. There's no real nourishment in the soil. So they do need a feeding now that they have their second and third set of leaves coming on. So every 10 days, I will dilute about 2 ounces of liquid fish emulsion fertilizer. I'll just say that generically because I use liquid fertilizer called Neptune's Harvest. And then there's another variety that I commonly use outside called Alaskan fish emulsion. And the Neptune's Harvest, whatever that makeup is of that liquid fertilizer, smells a little bit less than the Alaskan fish fertilizer. So for the purposes of using it in the house, I would recommend the Neptune's Harvest. And we'll leave the links to those in the description below. They're kind of hard to find, the Neptunes anyway. The Alaskan fertilizer you can find at like big box stores. But we're going to get the rest of these broccolis planted up, and then 10 days from now, everybody will get their first feeding of that. So did I say it was 2 tablespoons or 2 ounces in a quart of water? So it's really, really diluted. They're young plants. They don't need a lot of like straight on, definitely nothing harsh chemical-wise or heavy dose fertilizing while they're still tender and young. So that's all I know. I know we just chit-chatted a lot about a lot of things, but it's everything I'm thinking about today while I'm doing this. So I just thought I'd share my gardener's mind and what's on my head while I'm potting up my cabbages and broccolis. The celeries are doing good. They have just their first set of true leaves coming on, so they're not ready to be potted up yet. And sweet potato slips, got lots of them every day. It seems like I'm harvesting some. So we'll probably almost either see each other back when it's time to plant something out in the garden, when it comes to gardening content anyway. Plant out in the garden or start more seeds in the house. We did plant a lot of flowers already, seeds, direct sow those winter cold stratifying seeds out there. Things like poppies and bachelor's button, larkspur. I think that's about it. So I'm looking forward to all the beautiful gardenings. I've been going back through all my years past pictures and going, oh, I can't wait till it looks like that. This summer's just going to be so different for me, especially after having last year off. It's just going to be totally different. So I look forward to sharing it all with you guys. If you're not subscribed and you just found us, I'd invite you to subscribe and just come along with our journey. Until the next time, I'll see you guys on the next video.